Hello, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast of Adults Only. My name is Jahi, and the gentleman you see over there is Chazz. And tonight we have a serious subject to talk about. But before we get started, we want you all to know that this broadcast can be seen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. And then on the Eastern Coast, we will be seen at 7 o'clock. So just make sure that depending on where you are, you set your time accordingly. And Chaz, I'm gonna ask you a question before we get started. Why do you think this broadcast is important and people should be watching it?
Because it's something that we all deal with, and we have to be honest with ourselves here that some of these topics hit us all home, and we need to be honest. And I just wanted to say something real quick before we get started. This is a customized video. Someone requested this video. They asked us to do it, and we were men of our words. We said, you know what? We appreciate it. We did our research. So this is a customized, custom-made video for a certain person who asked us to do this. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, yeah, that's important because we definitely want to make sure that our viewers have a say-so in our
Yeah,
broadcast because in many broadcasts, people don't get a chance to say what they want to talk about.
yeah,
If Brother Raymond comes on tonight, I want to ask him, could he be more specific on the subject that he wanted us to talk about? Because we want to get that one in the mix as well. But
yeah.
having
And
said
all,
that, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and all the other viewers, as long as it's something clean, something honest, ask us, give us time, and we'll fire it up, and we'll get to talking about it.
Okay, having said that, tonight's subject is going to be social anxiety in the African American community. So, Chaz, I want you to actually read this definition we're going to be working from, and
Okay.
we're going to start talking about this, what social anxiety is.
Social anxiety, a psychological condition characterized by wanting to be alone and not wanting to be around others.
Chaz, I got to start off talking about that because here's my thing with that.
Okay.
This social anxiety is a serious problem within the African American community. Now, we
Right.
always talk about trying to do things to better our community and our youth and all of that. But if we don't want to be around these people, then how can we ever make an impact if we're just always wanting to be to ourselves and always want to be left alone and always not want to be bothered and always not wanting to be around others? So, wouldn't you say that that's very important that we dismiss this social anxiety because we have to get rid of not wanting to be around people because that's bad, Chaz. That really is for us as a people.
It really is. And there was a study done. I should have did the actual research, but I know off the top of my head, some of the people who do bad things and they go to prison, there's a situation, I don't know if it's solitary confinement or something, but anyway, when they lock that person up, this is a tactic that they use on the mind. They lock
Mhm.
that person in there, let's say for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, he's in a hole. And there are some people who've been locked up where they say they've gone crazy because
Yeah.
they're by themselves, they have no one to talk to, and when you don't have anyone to talk to for 1 day, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, a week, a month, 2 years, that will play on the person's mind. So if we're not careful here, not saying that we're criminals, but I'm saying from the thought process of that point is that when you get locked up and you can't talk to anyone, brother, I've seen a lot of brothers and sisters go crazy just from that alone because they want to talk, they want to be around others, but they can't. So I'm trying to tie that back to this point here. Being alone is not a good thing, or shutting yourself off, or not answering your phone, or constantly just ignoring people because you feel like you don't want to be bothered. Once again, I keep going back to the prison thing. It will mess you up in the long run if you keep doing that.
Yeah, that's true. And what I don't understand is this. Many of us as a people, as a society, we're not locked up. So we should want to be around others. Now, we all have our time and moments where we want to be alone for a minute or two or whatever. But I'm talking about people that just don't want to be around people. That is a problem. And I believe that it has to be addressed. So we'll ask this question. And I think the very first point is going to tell what the problem is.
Why does it seem that so many of us have social anxiety? Number one, many of us don't truly like people. So we
Mm, mm,
rather not
mm.
be around others. Yeah, and I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people say it. He gets on my nerves, or she gets on my nerves, or I can't stand them. Now, here's the thing. We all are humans. We all do things that agitate or annoy others, which is true. But to sit here and say that you don't like someone, I would say that that's probably a person not taking any jabs here that's dealing with something on the inside that's making them respond that way, because that's kind of not normal. You never met this person a day in your life and you look at him on the street and say, it's just something about him. I don't like him. Well, what's your reason? I don't know. I just don't like him. And you treat him like crap. That's just something that's just uncalled for, brother.
And here's a sad situation, because what's so sad about it is that many of us, we really don't like people. See, we want people to think we like them when it's convenient for us. But in our hearts, we really don't like other people. And we put on a front to make people think we do. But in our hearts, we really don't care enough about people to be around them. And with the problems that we have as a people, you would think that we should want to pull our minds together and do things as a group to try to help all of the things that we're going through. And to me, that's a sad situation.
Yeah, it really is. We got our first comment in the building. Brother Ray, what's going on, man? He says Black Power. We appreciate you. Sister Nikita's in the building. She says, hello. Hey, Sister Nikita. Brother Ray fires back. He says, you have to have a balance between self-time and social interaction is the key. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the key. But what we're saying is tonight, social anxiety is where people don't want to be around people. So we're not saying that we don't have time for ourselves. We're not saying that we should be social butterflies where we're just out all the time doing things. What we're saying is there are many people that just don't want to be around people. That's problematic. How are we going to solve problems when we don't want to be around people? How are we going to fix our issues, the racism, the sexism, all the things we're going through? How are we going to fix those problems if we don't want to be around people? This is why a lot of businesses, Chazz, don't flourish, especially the African-American community, because we get angry with one another and then we don't want to be around these people. And what you have is people acting like little children, because we just don't want to get things right. And we're going to have to get rid of this social anxiety, because that's killing us as a people, but we got to be honest about it.
Yeah. Brother Ray fires back in here. He says, honestly, we all have ran into people we just don't like. Yeah. But here's my thing, Brother Ray. We use that as a cop-out. We use that as, because some of us, like I said, there's nothing wrong with staying inside. There's nothing wrong with, being at home because it keeps you out of trouble. I get that. But when we just honestly are barricading ourselves, not wanting to go shopping, not want to go out and mingle with people, not wanting to go out and get fresh air because we just don't like people, Brother Ray, I'm saying we use that as a cop-out so we can stay to ourselves and do our own thing when that's just not right. It's really not.
And when you really look at it, we all have ran into people that we don't like. We're not talking about people we don't like, Josiah. We're not talking about people that we don't like. We're talking about social anxiety in the African-American community, where people want to barricade themselves. They don't want to be around others. They don't want to solve our problems. They don't want to do things that's going to help move us forward as a so-called race. This is what we're talking about. We're trying to get people to realize, of course, there's times where I want to be alone. There's times when I am alone. But 24/7, I don't want to barricade myself to where I'm not communicating with other people. I don't want to be so alone that I don't get a chance to talk about these problems and also do something about it. And I think right now he says he understood. He knows what we're talking about. So we're talking again about social anxiety. And again, social anxiety is a psychological condition that's characterized by wanting to be alone all the time. Do not want to be bothered. Don't want to come out. Want to go to work or go somewhere, come home. Don't want to be bothered. Get on the cell phone, put our nose in the cell phone 24/7. Don't want to do anything. Don't want to walk. Don't want to exercise. Don't want to solve our problems. Don't want to be around other people. Just like a little Daryl says, leave me alone. This is the attitude that we have. And like we said, Chazz, many of us, if the truth be told, we just don't like people. And that's why we don't want to be around them.
Number 2, internal grudges that have lingered on in our lives for years, so we don't want to be around others. Yeah, internal grudges, for example, we've all had issues in our lives where someone did something wrong to us. We're holding on to this 14, 15, 16, 17 years later. And some of us, which is a shame, what I'm saying is, you mean to tell me something that happened that long ago is going to make you not want to mingle with the people, talk with people. And here's the thing, and I'll pass it back. Most of the things that have happened to us, the person that done it, they're not thinking about that. They own about their lives. They don't care. They're not losing any sleep. They're not crying. They're not calling people on the phone talking about it. And I'm not saying this to belittle people. I'm just saying how it is. You're the person that's holding it in. You're the one that's stressed. You're the one that can't go to bed at night because of this issue. And you're letting all this linger, and you're having a lot of health issues because it's going to raise your blood pressure as well.
And it's a very, very terrible day in America where African Americans have held on to grudges that have allowed them to not want to be around other people. And instead of fixing that and talking to that person, we hold on to them, and then we say 5 years later why we're upset. Well, this is not going to help us. And most of the time, we find ourselves in a situation where we're just alone and we like it. And now we've gotten used to it. So now we don't want to be bothered until we want to be bothered. And This is the next thing that says, too many of us, we just want to be left alone because we have no interest. And that's the problem. We are not interested in other people because I should be interested enough in you to say, hey, we can solve your problem when you tell me. But when you tell me your problem and I don't want to hear it because I'm so busy trying to get home or trying to go somewhere to put up my own little tent so nobody can bother me and peek out every now and then. This is where we are today with many of us, because we'll tell you in a minute, I don't want to be bothered. I ain't got time for them. But you got time for everything else that you want to do, especially when it has to do with some foolishness and nonsense.
Number 4, a blatant misunderstanding of introversion. I'm going to let you take this and I'm going to piggyback off of it.
Okay, because a lot of people, when we say we're introvert, that's a person that's internally, they like to be to themselves.
Okay.
That's not what we're talking about, because they've misunderstood introversion. Introversion is not going away and never talking to people, barricading yourself in an apartment or a house, or going home and never coming out. See, that's not introversion. That's selfishness.
Okay.
That's childishness. See, so they use that a lot and say, well, you say, well, John, why you don't go out and try to solve problems and help people? Well, I'm an introvert. I just like to be to myself. That's not what an introvert is. See, we mislabeled it. We misunderstood it. And I think this next one, you're really going to find yourself talking about, because this is what it boils down to in many instances.
Number 5, some of this social anxiety is really depression. Yes, some of us are ashamed of how we look. We're ashamed of where we live. We're ashamed of where we work. We're ashamed of what we drive. We're ashamed of a lot of things. And when you put depression in capital letters, I want to touch home on that, because that's really what on the inside, when a person is just having a lot of turmoil. They're depressed. They're angry. They felt like they should have been farther along in life and they're not. Maybe some health issues came up. And this is not to belittle people, but that's where really most of this is coming from. And here's the thing. I guarantee you, if you do this trick, and I know it's easier said than done, but you won't have this. If you stop going off of what society says, work on your own pace. So what? You don't have a Rolls Royce. So what? You don't have a BMW, a Jaguar, a Bentley, all these fancy things. If you stop trying to keep up with what society says, you'll be okay. Quit caring about what society looks, because I'm telling you now, and I'll pass it back, brother, when you carry on all these things, that is going to give you anxiety, because you finally constantly see yourself trying to catch up to something, always chasing after something. And it just gets bad, especially when it deals with your looks as well. If you feel like you're not beautiful enough like society thinks you should be.
Yeah, depression is that thing that we like to mask. In other words, we don't like to go out because we're depressed. We're lonely. We're low. And so we feel like we're the scum of the earth. And so we sit around and feel sorry for ourselves, or we don't want to be bothered. We don't want to be bothered with the children. We don't want to be bothered with the significant other. We don't want to be bothered with the spouse. We don't want to be bothered with our friends. We don't want to be bothered with anyone. We just want to go to a place and stay by ourselves. And that social anxiety is really depression. And this is why many of us, we struggle with this, but we have to come out of that, because this is the only way our problems are going to be solved, is if we come out of this social anxiety and start going around other people. And some of us haven't been around some of our family members in years because we think, and we're going to get to this coming up too, because a lot of it is just a lot of us have some psychological problems and we think we're okay. We really think we're okay, but we're really not. We're really not.
Absolutely. Brother Ray fires in here. He says introverts are internally affected and extroverts are externally affected. Yeah. And I was just going to add to that, when you bottle that up, not all people, but some, when you add with smoking and drinking and popping Xanax and all that kind of thing, that's going to add and escalate the issue as well, because you got other factors playing a part in a person's anxiety or depression, if you will, for the introverts.
This is a serious problem within the African American community. And a lot of us don't like to talk about it, but this shows where we are as a people. So we're saying we want to encourage people to not be like that, because this next point is really going to tell what the problem is in many of our lives.
Number 6, burnout, overworking, taking on too many commitments, just being tired will cause social anxiety. Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback off what Brother Ray said earlier. It's called a balance. When you're working constantly, not getting the proper rest, you're always running the streets. You got this to do. You got that to do. In fact, you got so much to do, you forgetting some of the things you have to do. And that's just it. When you're not well balanced and constantly, like we mentioned, working, we're always tired. We don't have any energy to do anything. These things will cause anxiety because your mind is not functioning properly, because you're not getting enough sleep. You're probably not eating correctly. You're probably not exercising. All kind of other factors play along with this burnout. So I would say it's a process of balancing these things out to make sure you're functioning on all cylinders.
Yeah, because all this stuff you just mentioned is so true. A lot of us we're just tired. That's all. We're just tired. We're tired of everything. And this is why this social anxiety is running amok among the African American community. And I've always wondered why we always talk about what we can do to help our communities. But now we're not talking like that because we're too busy trying to run from the community. We don't want to be bothered with the community. We don't want to be bothered with anything. So this is why all of these things we're talking about causes social anxiety, and it's blatant. It's running rampant in the African American community, but a lot of us don't want to hear it because we're too busy trying to get away from it instead of embracing it and trying to deal with the issues that we face as a people.
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
So go ahead, Chazz.
No, I was just going to say, did you make a mistake, or are you trying to find something on the computer because there's nothing on the screen?
Yeah, this is a ring up there.
Okay, Brother Ray, he comes back in here. He says, culturally, Black people are usually extroverts. We are, therefore I am. Yeah, and here's the thing. We are extroverts in the things we like. When we love something like as far as sports, music, rap videos, stuff like that, we're loud about that. We're boisterous. You can't get us to shut our big mouths. And this is just something that goes to show, normally when it's something that we like, we're loud about it. We talking about it. You can't get us to be quiet. But when we don't like certain things, then that's what gets us to close up. But Brother Ray did say he's an extrovert, so that's a good thing to hear. I'm glad y'all like to hear that, brother.
Yeah, he's right. But nowadays, a lot of us are not.
Yeah.
See, back in the day, and some of us are still today, and he's right. But there's a lot of us who's not, and we can't let them off the hook just because we may be extroverts. Because I know a lot of people who do not want to be bothered. And so we got to start saying, come on now, there's enough room for all of us. We really need to open up and let them know that we love you. We want you around us. We want to know what your thoughts are about our issues. We want you to be a part of it. But we have some issues internally that has to be dealt with. And until those issues are dealt with, we're going to continuously play games. 1 minute we're hot, the next minute we're cold. 1 minute we're hot, the next minute we're cold. Now we don't want to be around people. Now we don't want to be bothered. That's got to be a miserable life, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 7, unresolved grief and or loss. If someone is grieving something deep down within, many times they want to be left alone. Now, this is true, especially when you have something catastrophic such as a death in the family, or you've lost your job, or something really, really heavy like that. We will want to be left alone to get some time to recover, rethink, get ourselves together. We get that. But I'm going to take it a step further. On the first half, we said unresolved grief. Some of it, brother, most of our unresolved grief, it can be resolved. We're choosing to not resolve it because it benefits us in the aspect of if we don't resolve something, that gives us the okay to barricade ourselves, not come out, not talk, not iron things out, if you will, with another person who wrongs you, or vice versa. So yeah, the unresolved grief, 90% of the time, it can be solved. We just choose not to.
Yeah, that's well said. I guess I don't have anything to add to that because that was really well said.
Number 8, low self-esteem. Some feel that they are not worthy enough of the love from others, so they withdraw. Yeah, not touched on that earlier. Because of the way we look, our hairs may be quote unquote nappy. Our faces may not look like what should, like as TV says. We may not drive some of the things, cars that others say that we should drive. We may not live in the best neighborhoods. All these things, brother, they add into the fact to where when people look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm not split. And you know what I mean when I say by split. So they stay at home and they barricade themselves and they pop Xanax, they drink, they smoke, they add all these things in, and it just makes them want to shut off from society, which is terrible. And I told you earlier, and I'm gonna pass it back. For people who feel that way, who do have low self-esteem, I'm here to tell you, stop living off of what society tells you, because when you do that, when you stop living off what society tells you, you will feel better, and you are a beautiful person. Do not let society dictate to you your looks, and this goes for young kids as well.
Yeah, I want to say open up, quit being like a doodle bug where you just touch it and it curls up and balls up. Then once nothing happens, then it opens back up. We're saying open up because life is too precious for us to be running around here having anxiety get the best of us to where we don't want to be around people. And that's blatant in the African-American community. And low self-esteem is where people feel that they're just not worthy because of something, whatever it is. They feel like I'm not worthy to do this. I'm not worthy to do that. So they don't want to be around people. And now they've built a castle. And this castle is what they live in. So they live in this little bubble where they don't want to go out of the bubble. So they would rather be by themselves. They would rather just be hermits. They would rather be monks where they don't do anything but sit around the house and watch TV, eat popcorn, and do things that's just going to make sure that they're not involved with other people. And that's not really the way life should be lived. And so we're saying don't be like that. Open up and realize that your esteem shouldn't be based upon anything other than the fact that you are a human being and that you are loved and that you're going to be able to help others, because we all are having struggles and we need all of us to be on the same page to do something about that than most of us, barricading ourselves, as we keep saying.
Yeah, and I'll take it a step further before I get to Brother Ray's comment. Once you get to that part when you are you do have low self-esteem, you'll start to hear a lot of noises in your head. Some of them will be yours, where you're constantly talking about yourself. Some people who are spiritual say demons or Satan is in their ear, constantly saying all kind of crap to make them feel low. And it's important to, when you are in this position, if there's somebody in your cell phone or your neighbor, you got to get out of that spot, because the longer this goes on, the longer this keeps going on, the worse you are. And sometimes, brother, I hate saying this, some of us have taken it to the point where we off ourselves because of all the chaos and the noises that's in our head. And I wouldn't like that to happen. Brother Ray fires in here. He says, is social anxiety the same as antisocial behavior disorder?
Yeah, I would say that it's really one and the same. Here's the difference, though. One of them can be fixed.
Okay.
And one of them can't be fixed because we're not allowing ourselves to be fixed. In other words, there's a moment where people go through this social anxiety where they don't want to be bothered, but then you can't let that last. But if you have an antisocial behavior disorder where you're sick, you have a mental. See, now then that's something where you're going to have to seek some kind of help because that illness is probably getting the best of you. Okay. Whereas the other one is just basically where you don't want to be bothered. And a lot of us are like that. So I'm speaking more in terms of the first one. social anxiety, where we just don't want to be around people. Whereas there are some people who are having some issues because there's something going on chemically, there's something going on biologically, there's something going on medically, there's something going on internally, and they may need some type of additional help. But the ones that I'm really talking about are not those, even though they should get help. I'm talking about these people who just want to be by themselves, and when you call, they don't want to be bothered. They tell somebody, "Can I speak to Ja?" And I tell somebody, "Tell him I ain't here." You know, and so I want to go. I want to go back to doing what I'm doing because I don't want to be bothered. And then when you say, "Ja, there's a problem in the community, let's go and put our heads together and see if we can put our resources together to solve that problem." Instead of me saying, "Okay, Chazz, let's put our resources together to solve this problem." Nope, I don't want to be bothered. So I want to be by myself. I want to be left alone. And so that's what it is. And like Brother Ray said, yeah, that it's a fact. It's a fact. And so that's why we need to do these kinds of broadcasts, so people can realize that we have so much going on right now.
Yeah.
And we are the answers to a lot of our problems. We are the answers. But if you don't want to be bothered, I don't want to be bothered. I'm talking about all the time, not the moments where sometimes we just want to be left alone for a season. And I understand that, and I recommend that. Every now and then we want to steal away. But I'm talking about the people who don't want to do anything. They don't want to. All they want to do is go and barricade themselves. And we keep using that word barricade because they don't want to be around people. And that's a problem.
Yeah. Number 9, chronic fatigue. Physical and emotional fatigue makes socializing too much. Yeah. There's some people, like I said, I'll take it a step further, where we've been isolated and we've barricaded ourselves for so long, where it makes us hard to talk to people. There's a term in the younger kids community they call it socially awkward, meaning they so used to sitting at lunch by themselves, playing their game by themselves, in the classroom and stuff, sitting alone by themselves, so where when people actually come up to them and say, "Hey man, what's going on, Chris?" They're looking at the floor. They don't really know how to respond. They're looking up in the ceiling. They have all these little weird things that they're doing, because they don't know how to respond. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to have a conversation because they've been so by themselves for so long. Now, I would think as adults here, some of us could use that as a cop-out. But for the children, I kind of give them a little wiggle room. But for us adults, we have no excuses for this. We really don't, because most of it is self-inflicted.
Yeah, and here's what I want to say about the African-American male, the black male, the woman too, but mainly about the African-American male. We all suffering with some things, but we have so much going on. Racism, sexism, we have joblessness, we have financial struggles, we have relational struggles, we have health issues, we have all kinds of things coming at us. And so emotionally, we're just drained. We're fatigued. So we don't have time to do anything else. And we have allowed those things to get the best of us, to where we're not able to go out and be ourselves because we're physically tired. We're tired of looking for a job and we can't find it. We're tired of people doing us wrong. We're tired of people trying to take advantage of us. We're tired of the system doing us wrong. We're tired of the government doing us in. We're tired of our friends messing us over. We're tired of our family kicking us in the teeth. And so we're just so fatigued, man. We're just down that we don't want to socialize. And now that has become our God. That has become our idol. That's who we look to whenever something happens. We want to withdraw and be by ourselves. And this is a problem. And a lot of us don't want to deal with this, but our children see this in us. And as they get older, they remember whenever times got tough, mommy and daddy just went away and didn't want to do anything. And then they start repeating the same thing that we do, not knowing that that is a detriment, man. That is a detriment.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, when the kids start to pick up on that, that's something that you really, really, really need to pay attention to, because that can really mess them up at a young age if it's not corrected. Brother Ray fires in here. He says, "Well, I spend a lot of time alone, but if you call or come around me, I'm a barrel of fun. I'm not good with crowds, though." Okay, that's good, though. I mean, he seems like he has the right concept to where he said he's a lot of fun. He can be funny and he can have a lot of energy around people. But I kind of get that too, Brother Ray. When you're around big crowds of people where, let's say, like if you got a festival or a sporting event or something like that, there are crowds of people there. And some people do get a little bit nervous, not intimidated, but they get nervous around thousands and thousands of people. And everywhere you walk, you stepping on someone's shoe or, bumping into somebody. So I get that. But for the most part, Brother Ray, you seem like you have the concept of this topic and you seem like you know how to separate from all the other categories. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, and see, he's right, because we all spend time alone. That's not the subject. We all spend time alone. But like he said, but if you come around me or if he comes around you, he's a barrel of fun. What I'm saying is many of us African Americans talk about the system. We talk about being nationalists. We talk about our ancestors. We talk about history. We talk about science. We talk about all these disciplines, but we don't want to be bothered. That's problematic, because if you think about our ancestors, what if they had that same attitude? They didn't want to be bothered. See, and that's what I'm trying to say. Social anxiety, and I have to put it back up again, Chazz, because I don't think we realize what it is. Social anxiety is a psychological condition that's characterized by wanting to be alone and not wanting to be around others. That is very problematic. It's a psychological issue that we don't like to deal with, and it affects us emotionally. And yet we don't want to accept the fact that those types of things that we allow to get us away. Now, I'm not saying every day we got to have a party. I'm not saying that, because I like my quiet time when I'm by myself too. Right. But there are times where we have to get together to solve our problems. And me sitting around wanting to not be bothered and always telling people I don't want to be around you and I'm just to myself and all that, that's problematic, because nothing will ever get solved.
We got Anucci in the building. She says, peace, fam. Hey, Anucci, I want to say something real quick. If you could go back to Ray's comment, there was something I want to touch on his last comment. There we go. He says, and I'm going to just paraphrase real quick. He says, if you come around me, he'll be happy or he'll have a lot of fun. I'm paraphrasing, but here's the thing, brother. I can't tell people how to act, but people aren't going to want to be around you. Not Ray, just in general. When you go around a person, they give 1 or 2 word answers. Hey, what's going on? What you got going on in your life? Nothing. You're just looking at the ground. Or let's go up and do this. I don't feel like it. Now, I can't make people act the way I want them to act, but you got to give something for people to want to be around. Me personally, I'm going to take it a step further. If every time I call you was 1 or 2 word answers, you barely ever want to pick up your mouth, I can't hear anything you're saying, you're constantly looking away. Now, these are things that shouldn't have to be taught, but if a person is acting like that, I'm going to say to myself, wait a minute. I don't want to be around this person either. So at some point, we have to look back at ourselves and say, we have to give something for people to want to be around. Would you want to be around a person like that, brother?
No. And it's sad, because what we find out is this. We don't want to be bothered until we want to be bothered. In other words, if I need something from you, then I want to be bothered. But other than that, leave me alone. And this is the kind of attitude that most of us have. See, when I want something, I want to be around. I'm a barrel of fun, like Ray say. Oh yeah, I'm all this and all that in the bag of chips. But after that, I'm gonna go to my little cave and I'm gonna seal it up, and I don't want to be bothered. This is a psychological mindset that is destroying us as a people, and I think we have to address that.
Brother Ray fires back in here. He says the depleting respect going on as every generation becomes adolescent adults.
Yeah, like that, we act childish. We acting like little kids. That's basically what it boils down to. And we have a lot of us. And then he says this. I guess he says they don't call or come around until they want something. And this is it, see? And so I'm saying that we can't be like that, Chazz. We have too many issues as a people that we're dealing with now. And I mentioned some of them. And so since I know that as a black man, since I know that as an African American, since I know that whatever you want to call me, since I know I'm dealing with a lot of things, I should be wanting to get together with people every now and then to say, how do we solve this problem? Not letting the problem get bad and just running from it and never sitting down saying, let me address this issue. And that's where we fall short, because a lot of us do not want to be bothered because of this right here.
Number 10, feeling trapped by life's realities and don't want to experience socialization. Life can be hard. Life does have some harsh realities, but my thing is try not to let all this stuff wear you down. Try to take it not, and here's the thing too. Try not to take things so personal. There's things that's always going to happen in our lives, but when you're constantly taking everything personal, you constantly feel like there's no way out. You constantly feel like people are after you. You constantly are feeling like there is no hope. All these things are going to play on your mental psyche, and you're not going to want to be around because you're saying you got this problem, you got that problem, you have no hope. Life should already be over. I have no one to run to. And when you think and feel like that, you're not going to want to experience any socialization. You're just going to want to, like you said, lock yourself in your home or your apartment and just watch TV until you get sleepy.
And here's a problem with that, because if you look at this number 10, this point says a lot of us don't want to be around people and we struggle with social anxiety because we feel trapped. Now, the next part is important because it says trapped by life's realities. Well, you know that in this life, you're going to have ups.
Yeah.
You know that in this life, you're going to have downs. You know that in this life, people are not going to like you. In this life, people are going to talk about you. In life, there's going to be all kinds of things that happen to us. In this life, our kids are going to be topsy-turvy. In this life, those so-called best friends and everybody's going to turn against us. In this life, things are not going to go the way we want them to go. Then why do we let those things want us to get away from everybody and not want to be bothered when we know that this is a part of life, Chazz? And we act like Raymond just said, adolescence. You know that one day you're going to feel hurt. You know that one day you're going to hurt yourself. One day you know you're not going to have enough money to do what you want to do. One day you know that your people that you really trusted and that you really gave a lot of credence to going to turn their back on you. You know this. Then when it happens, why do you want to run and tuck your tail between your legs and not want to be bothered? It's because you and I don't realize that as adults, we talk about knowing thyself. We talk about vibrations. We talk about blessings. We talk about all these concepts. But when you really think about it, Chazz, many of us have allowed the life that we live to trap us to where we're saying, I don't want to be around anybody. And to me, that's when you've basically given up.
Yeah, and you don't want to be in that spot. Because like I said, there's so many other things that creep in and crawl into the mind that really make a person go haywire. Number 11, post-trauma. Something catastrophic has happened to this individual, and they still have this event bottled up, whereby they don't want to be around others. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. This could be something in childhood. This could be some of the way our parents have treated us. It could be something that happened to us with our brothers or sisters, to where 15, 20, 30 years ago, this thing has happened to us. And I'm not going to lie. Some of this stuff is traumatizing. Some of this stuff will mess your mind up, where you just don't know how to handle it, and you're bottling all this stuff up on the inside, to where, now, I'm not using this as an excuse, but because we don't know what to do with this trauma, we don't know how to handle it, we bottle it up on the inside, and we shut down from society. And the thing is, like we just mentioned, brother, we always going to have something in life that's going to come up. But this post-trauma that we refuse to let go, it's like we're obsessed with it. We love to harp on it. We bring it up constantly. Such and such screwed me over 15 years ago. I'm not going to get over that. And it's like that. This is something that we hold on to. And it's just terrible, man. It's terrible.
Yeah, and this post-traumatic stuff that we're dealing with, we still suffer from it right now. The way we have been treated since we've been in this country. See, we don't like to talk about those things. Ever since we were little babies, come out of our mother's wombs, we all have had to deal with racism. We've all had to deal with all of those traps that have been set for us to fall in. And we've all been affected by those things. And then we have growing up things happen to us. All I'm saying is those things should not make us not want to be around people, especially people who are positive, people who are doing things to help the community. So this is what I'm saying, you see, and that's why we have these issues.
Brother Ray Fires in here. He says, when I didn't love myself, I hated being alone. Since I learned to love myself properly, I actually am entertaining and enjoyable to myself alone now. Yeah, like I said, and I like to cut it in half a little bit. He says he hated being alone. When you hate being alone, it's so many other factors to start to creep in. And once again, I keep saying this because it's like one thing after another. Then so many things pile up, and then you say to yourself, well, how the hell did I get myself here? How did I start off the drinking? Now it's the pills. Now it's all kind of other things. I'm in violence now. I'm in gangs now. There's so many other things that start to pile up. So it's just when you see that you don't like being alone, address it and try to get yourself around people that you know that can help you instead of, just sitting it out. But Brother Ray, he brings some good insights to the broadcast as always. Number 12, ongoing internal conflict, the constant battle within. No assistance wanted for this conflict. I'll let you take this.
Chaz, this here is really serious because we're really struggling, a lot of us, internally, you see. We don't like to admit it. We can go wherever we want to go for a spiritual breakthrough, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, though, see. It's because there's something going on the inside, and we haven't dealt with that, whatever it may be. And so that battle is constant. Every day we are battling with this thing. And instead of getting help or making sure this thing is dealt with, we don't want the assistance. So that's our way of getting out, of getting help. So we would rather be alone, you see. And that is killing us. It's making us look older than we are because we've been struggling with this thing for many years, and it is kicking us everywhere, dragging us in the mud, kicking us in the teeth, and we don't want to hear this thing. And that's why most of us, when we think about these kind of broadcasts, we don't want to hear the truth about what's really going on. And what's really going on is there's something inside of us that we don't want to deal with. We don't know how to deal with. We don't want to be honest about. And since we don't want assistance, we end up taking this thing and we end up having conflict from the time we get this in our heart to the time we die.
Number 13, the big cop out, a need for personal space. Yeah. That's just, yeah. I was just going to say, that's just a thing that we say, basically, in other words, leave me alone. We all need space. And that is true to some extent. But when you ask constantly someone, hey, man, why don't you come to my barbecue? Or, hey, man, why don't you come to this gathering that we're doing? We say, oh, no, I can't. Well, why? I just need some space right now. That's one of, like you said on the screen, one of the biggest cop-outs that a person can use. And that's just basically saying that person doesn't want to be around people. And they don't want to be around you. Because that's the same thing that happens in a relationship. When two people are together for a long time, and then one of them says to the other one, I think we need to separate. They say, why? What have I done? I haven't done anything. You haven't done anything, they say. They say, I just need my personal space. No, that means you want to be left alone to probably find somebody else, or you got somebody else. But this is an excuse you're giving, see. It's a cop-out. It's a cop-out, man. It really is. It's a serious cop-out. Brother Ray fires back in here. He says, good people hold grudges because they get tired of being mistreated unjustly. Now, here's the thing. If a person that's a good person that's holding grudges, they shouldn't hold on to it for years, though, Brother Ray. They should be able to hold on to it for, like, let's say a day or two, or maybe a month. I don't know what the situation is, and leave it alone. But when you're constantly walking around with that's not good. And we all have been mistreated. I know every person that's viewing this broadcast in some way or fashion have been mistreated. But Brother Ray, we can't let that dictate to us how long we keep this stuff bottled in. We have to learn how to forgive. And like they said, let it go. Because as long as you keep holding on to this, it's going to mess your health up.
See, and I want to take this statement a little further, what Ray said, because I understand what he's saying. Some people hold grudges because they get tired of being mistreated unjustly. But what I'm saying is, if you treat me unjustly, Chazz, and I don't want to be around you, okay? And I don't want to be around you because of how you're treating me, that's fine. But then what about other people? Do I want to just not be around anyone because of what you've done? And I know he's not saying that. But what I'm saying is, I'm talking about the people who don't want to be bothered, period. Not that I can say, well, Chazz, you screwed me over. I ain't fooling with you. I ain't fooling with you anymore. Okay, that's fine. But then what about everybody else in my life? Am I going to shut them all out? And that's the problem. That's the serious problem right there.
Brother Ray says, I still dislike Kevin White from high school. Okay, so that's
Okay,
something
okay,
y'all
but
got.
see, I want to play on that too. He can dislike brother Kevin White all he wants, but he's still going to go around other people. See, it's
Right.
not the people that we dislike only, because I
Okay.
dislike people, you dislike people. Everybody has someone that they dislike, and that's fine. What we're saying is, just because you dislike one person, is that going to make you shut down and not want to be bothered with the world, and you want to put on your little your monk suit, your religious suit, go into the caves and start chanting and meditating, shave your head. You don't want to be bothered. This is what we're saying. So it's not a matter of disliking people, because he's right. He said he still disliked Kevin White from high school, but at least he hasn't shut down to the world. And this is
Right.
why people don't want to see this broadcast. But I want to make a quick announcement, Chazz.
Okay.
I want to make a quick announcement, and I want everybody to be in on this. Starting this coming up Saturday at 1 o'clock Central Time on the Jahi and Kev Show, we're going to be doing a broadcast on sacrifice and what sacrifice means for our people. So we want you to tune in to our YouTube channel on the Jahi and Kev Show this Saturday at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. We have a live number that you can call in, and we're going to be talking about how important sacrificing is for our people. Because I'm telling you now, Chad, a lot of us are just a lot of air. We talk a lot, but we're not doing what we're saying we're supposed to be doing. We know that we're supposed to be doing certain things, but we're not. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about, sacrificing and what it is and why should we and how should we.
Okay, that's something I'm gonna have to check out. You and Brother Kevin, I'll put that in and get watching it. Number 14, too much family mess. So one would rather be a hermit. Now, yeah, we all got a lot of family mess. There's somebody in each and one of our families that keep up mess. They're on top of all the latest gossip, all the latest drama that happens in our family. And some people say, you know what? It's so much chaos and mess going on. I'd rather just stick to myself. It is too much noise. Every day something's going left for our family. Every other day, one of our young ones are getting locked up. Every other day, one of our young ones are getting put 6 feet deep because of the lives they live. And it's just so much going on. I'd rather just stick to myself. But here's the thing. Try to take it a piece at a time. When you hear about this information, listen to it, digest it, talk about it, but still pop back out and mingle with the people. Don't let that, just make you want to shut out and just shut off from the family, period. I mean, that's terrible. Brother Ray says he's got to go in peace. We appreciate you, Brother Ray. You can always watch the playback towards the end. We appreciate your comments. But number 15, it says, hey, giving up on life. Many of us have given up on life, but don't want to say it. So we enjoy living in solitude. Wow. I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, because what it is, Chaz, we've been through so much. We've been hurt so much. Our bodies are racked with pain as we get older. Things didn't turn out the way we thought they were going to turn out. We're getting older now. We're beginning to contemplate on what life is really about. And we don't like where we are. So now we said we throw our hands up and we just want to be left alone. And that's a sad epithet. And I'm going to tell you now, my favorite word that I always say that I believe with all my heart.
Okay.
Most of us, not all of us, most of us are hypocrites.
Okay.
We are hypocritical to our teeth. We're very hypocritical because we don't know how to have balance. We don't know how to be consistent. Mm-hmm. We don't know how to support those things and people that are positive, that's saying something. We always tend to want to be in a place where nobody bothers us. And to me, that's our safe space, which it shouldn't be. Because if you look at our ancestors and what they went through to get to where we are today, we are, they went through so much and they didn't want to be left alone because the fight was real, man. The fight was out there. So they had so much going on. And we're going through the same thing, but except for today, we've got comfortable now. See, and we want to play games and we don't want to be bothered. And that's a sad epithet. So most of our funerals on our tombstones, they should have our name, our birth date, the day we pass, and for our epitaph, it should say, here lies a man, Jah, who did not want to be bothered. And that's what it should say. That's what it should say. We did not want to be, we don't want to be bothered though. We really don't. Or when we want to tour with the band, we want to tour. When we don't want to tour with the band, we don't want to tour with the band.
I would just want to make a little comment about what you just said. Now, you know, family members that would show up to see that, you know that would offend most of them if they saw that on the person.
Well, they wouldn't care because they want to go home and don't want to be bothered themselves. So yeah.
Number 16, selfishness. Some of us are plain old selfish, so we choose to be isolated. I'll let you take this and I'll piggyback off of it.
Yeah, because some of us, all we care about is ourselves.
Okay.
See, and that social anxiety is a selfishness because we want to be to ourselves. We don't want to have anything to do with anyone else. So that's basically selfishness. We want to be isolated. We don't want to be bothered. We don't want to hear anything. We just want to live in a fantasy world with ourselves. And in our minds, we see ourselves as just everything is great in this fantasy world because nobody can come in, you know, and you're not going to go out. So we want to go into a safe space. We're safe because no one can come in. No one can hurt us. No one can bother us. So I just want to be left alone because I'm very selfish. I don't want you in my world. And this is a problem right here.
Yeah. And I didn't look at it that way as being selfish when you want to be closed in. I was always under the impression that selfish was people who, get a lot of material or buy a lot of houses and stuff like that. But I didn't look at it that way. That's an interesting point. But that is true on how being isolated can make us selfish, if you will, because it's all about us and what we feel like how it should go. Number 17, pride. Some of us think that we're too good or better than others to be around. Yeah, and all it takes is for us to get something lucky. For example, we hit the lottery. We get some extra money in our bank account where our bosses give us a raise and we move to another neighborhood. And here we are. We used to grow up in a nasty, terrible neighborhood. But because we moved on the other side of town, we got a little bit more pep in our step. And now we look down on our relatives. You still living over there in that hood? You still ain't got up out of that gutter yet. And it's like, here's the thing that's crazy about it though. As quick as you got it, you can lose it that quick. And when you lose it that quick, it'll humble your black butt again. But see, that's one thing I hate. When we get a couple of dollars in our pockets, we act so much different, man. And it's a shame that we're so materialistic that we let this stuff change us, and it shouldn't. Especially when we look at other people's finances and think we're better than them.
Well, and we do. Some of us, the reason that a lot of us don't want to be around other people is not because of all that selfishness and all those other points we made earlier. It's because we think we're too good. I'm better than you. I don't want to be around you. You are beneath me. My stuff doesn't stink. See, I'm all that. To have me in your presence is something that you should be excited about. And so we have that attitude. We really do. And this is why a lot of the problems that we face, they never get solved. This is why the things that we're supposed to do, we'll never do them because we think we're too good for that. We see the house is falling in all around us. We see it's caving in, but we think we're too good. We think we're better than other people. We won't try to do anything to fix it up. We won't try to come outside and try to, pull our resources together and get with other people who are like-minded to say, hey, let's work together. Let's work this thing out. So we say, no, I'm better than you. So in our hearts, we actually feel that way. And I definitely, I got to put this thing up again, Chazz, because I'm telling you, man, this is a problem. And a lot of us don't want to accept this.
Social anxiety, a psychological condition characterized by wanting to be alone and not wanting to be around others.
You see that first part of it? It's psychological, man. This is how we think. This is a thought process, and it's like when it gives birth to not want to be around people. Yeah. But basically, it's a psychological condition. It's a condition that we put on our own selves. It's where we've told ourselves this. Now we believe this, and so now we make it happen, and then it becomes a condition that's characterized by not wanting to be alone. And so psychologically speaking, we're screwed up, but we don't want to talk like this. See, we don't want no one to talk like this. And this is the problem that we have within our community, within ourselves, and within the world in which we live in, because a lot of us do not want to be bothered. And that's why this condition that we have is pervasive in our lives.
Absolutely said. Well said.
Yeah, because that's all the points we have. So that's good.
What?
We're done with this one. In fact,
I thought we had more than that. I thought it was like up to 30.
No, we ran through these things. So okay. What we got to do now is we might as well, we getting ready to get off because we don't have that much time left. So I think we need to just kind of do what we normally do, and that is give the people our speech. I'll give you mine first, and I'll let you close us out, because I'm telling you now, we've come to you today to teach that there is a social anxiety within our community. That means that people don't want to be around other people for whatever reason. Now, we're not talking about if somebody did you wrong and you don't want to be around them. Well, that's permissible. We understand that. What we're saying is a lot of us don't want to be around people because we either think we're too good to be around them, or we're selfish, or we've been hurt by life, or we've been drugged through the mud, or something has happened to us in our childhood, and this is really destroying us. And we're saying today, don't let that be your story. Don't let that be my story. Always realize that as a person, we were put on this earth to be there for each other. Right. We should pull our minds together and solve problems and help other people while we got an opportunity. And I don't know if it's too late for this, Chazz, but we have a lot of people that are sick, and we have to really try to help heal them, because nothing is happening. Nothing is helping them. They're going to church. They're going to the spiritual meetings. They're going to all these Islamic meetings. They're going to all these educational meetings. They're going to all these different places. And it's still, in fact, it's worse now than it's ever been. So what we're trying to say to you all is, you've got to come back to yourself and realize that you are a beautiful person. You are a wonderful person, and that you can, as a person, you can make a difference in this society. You can make a difference in this world. But you've got to stop being so antisocial. Go around some of your family members, those that you haven't been around in a long time. You'll just say, hey, I know I ain't been around you a long time. I just want to see how you're doing, and then leave. I talked to one of my aunties that I haven't talked to in a long time, and I really felt bad because she called me out of the blue, and we talked for a long time. And when I got off the phone, I had to kick myself in the behind to say, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You don't even pick up the phone to call her. You know she's an elder, but you won't call her up, but you'll do a broadcast and run your mouth about what other people should be doing. So I'm saying we should be challenged like that, Chazz. Right. So I'll let you take us home, because we got like 3 minutes, so you can do what you got to do, and we'll get out of here.
I appreciate all the people who visited this broadcast today. You stuck with us for these 57 minutes. We appreciate it. But tonight's broadcast was fun, and it was serious. Social anxiety. Some of the things that we do when we're frustrated or angry or bitter, we hide in our homes, we hide in our apartments, and don't want to be bothered with people. Some of the times we just have an internal conflict to where it's self-inflicted, where we don't want to be bothered with anybody because of some internal things that we're going through in our own minds. And it doesn't have to be that way. Get out, get help, get some people with people who are like-minded. So you know what? I haven't been around my friend or my relative for a while, like you just mentioned. I just want to see what's going on, how you feeling. Talk 5-10 minutes. You don't have to be over there all day. You don't have to be there all night. Catch up with them, because I'm sure they probably want to talk to you. And last but not least, don't let people, what they have done to you in the past, don't let that make you a hermit, as we said earlier, where because we got wronged in our childhood or earlier in our lives, we don't want to do anything. We don't want to talk. We hold that until we die. So we die in an apartment. We die in a home because of what someone had did to us 15 or 20 years ago. We all have to be better people. But I appreciate this broadcast, brother. Have you thought of any topics for next week yet, or are you still thinking?
We'll come together. I might have to call Ray and see what he talked about, because he gave us some information, but it wasn't too clear. So we'll do that too as well.
Okay. Well, as of always, man, I appreciate it. It was fun as always, and I'll kick it back to you.
All right. We'll see you guys next Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern. So we'll see you. Shem Motel.
Take care.